This might seem like a long list of fairly cosmetic complaints, but this isn't a gameplay or a game mechanic review. Check this video out for that sort of thing. Sort of. This video will be more focused on if the new DLC lives up to the standards I've come to expect from sinking 86 hours into Battlefleet Gothic so far. As such, unless there is a new gameplay mechanic that warrants mention, I will largely just focus on the question of if it's worth it, rather than establish what Battlefleet Gothic is. That said, they still need a more organic zoom between the sector and universe view. I spend a lot of my time accidentally zooming in when I just mean to scroll. It's fairly infuriating. Please find a way of fixing that, devs. Chaos gameplay hasn't changed a great deal for me since the first Battlefleet Gothic. They're a long-ranged, fairly broadsidey, fast fleet. I enjoy them. That aside, so far so bland. It's pretty early on for me. My initial impressions are that this is a somewhat underwritten story, so far at least. Which is a shame. Here is the intro. The basic gist being, you are just some random contextless dude who for no given reason is selected from a mass of equally generic body modification fetishists in a system oddly reminiscent of a school sports team being picked. For me, this was underwhelming. Chaos are bad, like Cenobites by way of the Void with a dash of the Thing, designed from conception to be full-blown deviant and excessive, to the extent that it makes paleontologist Sam Neill in Event Horizon seem like a pretty chill and moderate fella. That doesn't mean Chaos can't be relatable. From the Thousand Sons whose path to damnation began by trying to warn the Emperor about the betrayal of Horus, but did so using dangerous and banned telepathic communication. Unfortunately, this led to the Emperor's main project at the time getting messed up. In response, the Emperor dispatched the Space Wolves who overzealously punished the Thousand Sons by seriously eating all of their homework. The Thousand Sons, through no ill intent of their own, were forced to accept chaos, or accept destruction at the hand of spacefarers. Bam, instant sympathy. Nobody wants to go like that. Or perhaps spare a thought for the Death Guard who served loyally but became trapped in the warp, and slowly corrupted by Nurgle's plagues, only eventually turning to Nurgle for sweet relief from the itchy sores. They developed a hardcore Stockholm syndrome for Nurgle, who could numb their torment despite the depths of their corruption. Now they just want to spread Papa Nurgle's gifts and salvation to the stars unnumbered. These and perhaps at least 3 or 4 more stories exist in the handful of books written since Games Workshop has existed. Any one of those could have been used to form a compelling and semi-sympathetic character for us to follow. I was looking forward to seeing Tyndalos' approach. However, so far if Games Workshop released a special edition Chaos Feather of this character, I would have no interest in owning it. If they made an Admiral Spire figure, I would climb mountains to own it. I'm not entirely sure that's a scientific metric, but, you know, it's the best metric I can throw out there to semi-express what I think. In the past I have recommended Battlefleet Gothic, even if the gameplay doesn't appeal to fans of the lore. I personally enjoy the gameplay, and I enjoy the lore. The gameplay is as solid as ever. I was just hoping that the storyline in this would be as dense and well illustrated with cutscenes as the main campaign for the Empire. Perhaps as I progress there will be more cutscenes and a more compelling sort of hook to the story. But I'm seeing no signs so far. On a slightly different note, I did see a planet called Balzac, which I assume must be one of the sweatiest planets ever. For those who already really enjoy Battlefleet Gothic, and will perhaps be more forgiving if the plot portion seems a little bit light. In terms of game mechanics and units, there isn't much new to add. There are now Chaos Gifts from the Chaos Gods that enable you to do chaotic sabotage on enemy systems before invasion. On the downside, gaining those gifts requires the completion of bonus objectives in missions, or else dedicating freshly conquered systems to a specific Chaos God, which comes at the expense of increasing the cost of system upgrades, which makes some sense. I struggle to imagine how utilities like power and public transport function in a society with weird gribbly demons all over the place. Like, who does the farming? Who's paying taxes? Who's collecting taxes? I digress. All in all, I suppose it's fine. I was hoping the price would warrant a more altered experience. There might be some new units, it's kind of difficult to tell. But if you like Battlefleet Gothic, played all of the campaigns available in the main game, this is the most logical next step. I wouldn't sell a kidney to get it any sooner. And if you're really desperate, perhaps try playing Chaos in Skirmish whilst starting a new Imperial campaign. Alternate games and you'll probably get a more substantial experience. This feels like another side campaign than the fully realised Imperial campaign I was maybe hoping for. But you know what, now I've played a bit more, come to terms with the barely noticeable character you play as, what's wrong with just more Battlefleet Gothic? The price is a bit high, but hopefully a lot of that went into paying the voice actors well. Their chit-chat between and during missions represents a large portion of the new content as far as I have experienced. I hope they have higher aims for any future DLC, but if this is what we get, if they happen to release more races, I would probably end up buying it. Is that a recommendation? I don't know. It sounds more like the words of a person with a problem, and maybe that's the perfect outcome for a Chaos DLC. Thanks for watching, and blood for the Blood God.